What's up, guys? Theo here, doing a quick prediction for Ihor Potieria versus Robert Bryczek. So right now, Robert Bryczek is a minus 210 favorite, and the comeback on Ihor Potieria is plus 155 on DraftKings. Guys, I like Ihor Potieria here. He hasn't had the most success in the UFC lately. He's actually been looking pretty bad. He's been getting finished by a lot of people. The only guy that he's finished lately was Shogun, 41-year-old Shogun Hua. So Ihor hasn't had the most success in the UFC lately, and he did just have that really, really brutal fight against Rodolfo Bellato, who he got about within, literally seconds, one more millisecond, one more punch on the ground in that first round, and Ihor Potieria would have had Rodolfo Bellato out of there. And then Rodolfo manages to come back after getting the absolute shit beat out of him because Potieria gassed and finished Potieria. So Potieria has been on the bad side of a couple finishes in the UFC so far. He also got finished by Nikolai Negumereanu and Olberg in really quick fashion. But I still like him to win here, especially as an underdog, because although he really only has about, I'm not even joking, he has about a round of cardio, maybe a round and a half of cardio, and then he's basically completely gassed. He has not ever gone out of the second round in the UFC so far, and in his second round fights, they ended early in the second round, so he's not even been deep into the second round. But in the first round where he fights, he is generally presenting a fairly dangerous striking threat to his opponents. He's got really fast hands, and he's got good combinations. He just isn't really good anywhere else. He's got good ground and pound, but he's not a very well-rounded martial artist, so to speak, for the UFC. He did have a pretty impressive career before that where he was finishing a lot of cans really quickly. That's not super impressive, but I like what I've seen from him on the feet in the UFC. I think his striking is underrated because he keeps getting brutally finished when he can't finish his opponents in the first round. And he's going up against Robert Bryczek, who is a European fighter. This guy is coming out of Octagon. That's where most of his wins have been. Weird, knockoff Polish UFC. Some of these Russian and Eastern European organizations that this guy's coming out of are super sketch, super weird. This dude has had a really 50-50 career, even at this low level of MMA over in Europe. And right now, he seems to have hit a stride where he's knocked out 5 guys in a row in extremely brutal fashion. So Bryczek does have power in spades, no doubt about that. He definitely has the power to finish any man that's his size and weight. But if you look at the guys that he's fighting, they're really not the best competition. They're these really worn down looking guys from the European scene. A lot of them are clearly roided out of their minds, which it's kind of a really bad combination to see low level of skill in terms of your record, extremely roided physiques, and just power punchers with no grappling. Those are the 3 kind of telltale signs that you're getting cheap, crappy MMA. And this guy is all of that. He's roided to the gills. He's fighting other dudes that are roided to the gills that are a couple of his opponents were 38, 40. So he's also fighting older guys, but he's fighting older dudes that are of a lesser competition than the old guys than Ihor is fighting. And Bryczek is doing really well against guys that aren't offering him any offense. They're these dudes that they don't even look skilled when they're in the octagon. I look at these guys like Lee Chadwick, who the crowd was going absolutely crazy over this dude coming out, whatever. I guess everyone thought he was going to win. Some of these dudes have odd followings in Europe, but these dudes are terrible. They're sitting there, they're throwing one-shot hooks. They're trying to knock people out with one punch, not even trying to set things up or anything. It's extremely low-level MMA for how high value the production is. And this is the promotions where they have tattoos across their chest and stuff like that, tattoo branded shit across their chest. Octagon is like what the UFC would be if you let like a dumbass Redditor decide like how the UFC should be. If you ever want to understand why Dana White is a business genius and the people on Reddit don't run a fight promotion, it's because Dana White makes one that looks like the UFC, and people on Reddit want it to be like Octagon. They want like these ridiculous walkouts with like smoke and fire, and then they want like shitty roided up fighters that are just gonna like chin check each other over and over again. It's funny because it's like you see this actually in front of you and you see how like not entertaining it is, and then you see people complaining about the UFC. I'm like, guys, like everything's in front of your eyes. Like, it's just really weird watching some of these promotions. I don't always like fighters that come out of them, so it's ridiculous to see that this guy is a minus 210 favorite. He has no fights in the UFC. He's never fought anybody UFC caliber. The highest level guy that he has a fight against is Kike Brito, who's that dude that went on Contender Series and got beat by Oban Elliott, who is a moron. You listen to Oban Elliott talk for about 10 seconds, you can tell the guy's a dummy. And he sucks. He was talking about, oh, I'm the next Conor McGregor, Dana White. He literally threatened Dana White. He said, you better put me in the UFC or else. So this guy was a dummy and not a good fighter, and he managed to beat Kike Brito. And Kike Brito knocked out Robert Bryczek in like under a round. And the dude, Kike Brito, I did tape on him. He wasn't even a knockout threat in any of his other fights. So this guy, Bryczek, comes forward, and he's just like winging huge shots. He's got crazy power. But if he doesn't knock you out, he doesn't really have a well-rounded skill set. Not that Potieria does, but Potieria has managed to put work on guys that do have well-rounded skill sets and are legit martial artists. Whereas Bryczek, he's knocking out cans. He knocked out 5 cans in a row, and now he's getting a third slot on a UFC main card. This is a very bizarre matchup, guys, and I think that they just don't care who wins. I think whoever's doing the matchmaking just doesn't give a shit who wins this fight, and they just know it's going to end in a knockout. This fight's probably going to end in the first round. Whoever finds the other's chin first is going to go. And I favor Ihor Potieria to find Bryczek's chin, to be honest with you, because roiding yourself up and shit like that and just having massive power and just being a brawler, that's not going to get you far in the UFC. I mean, you might knock out Ihor Potieria, but after that, you're going to have a tough time when you get up into these higher level skilled guys who can actually set up combinations and have like good footwork and good boxing. So I like Potieria here. I think he's got slicker hands, and I think he's like done more impressive things against better level of competition. I don't know why Potieria is the underdog here. I guess because he got beat up by Bellato, and that is a really bad look, and I always say that too. I say it's a bad look when somebody is winning a fight that dominantly and then just gasses and loses. But Bryczek himself is not known to be some like 5-round, 3-round, whatever cardio extraordinaire. The guy loses most of the decisions that he goes to in Octagon and in these other European promotions. So what's the upside on this guy? He's just got insane power, and we're betting that he's going to get to Potieria's chin before Potieria gets to his, because that's what this fight is going to be. It's going to be 2 guys going forward and slugging, and one of them is going to go down in the first round or early in the second round. Who knows? But a guy that has like 4 fights in the UFC should not be an underdog when his opponent has the same skill set and the same fight style that he does, and has never fought anyone that's even close to being UFC level. So yes, Potieria has looked really bad lately, but this line is just a fade against Potieria. There's nothing telling us that this Bryczek guy is the real deal, or that he can come out and reliably knock out even a low-level UFC fighter that easily. I mean, he can, because this fight is just going to be a brawl. Anything is going to happen. But there's no way that Ihor Potieria should be an underdog against this guy. Even if he gets knocked out, this line is not accurate. This is a completely 50-50 fight. And you have a guy in a 50-50 fight is a minus 210 favorite. And we have literally no idea what he is capable of against skilled opposition. So give me Ihor Potieria. I like him here. I think he's being slept on a little bit because of some bad performances lately. And I'm not some huge fan of Ihor Potieria, but I could easily see him winning this. So plus 155, that's a no-brainer, guys. Give me Ihor Potieria. Keep it locked in. More picks coming later this week.